What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Tim's Sports Talk. And today I want to know what you guys think about this free agency. All right, for the Washington Commanders, hit the comments and let me know what you're thinking about this before you hear my thoughts. I'm very curious before I get into it, but no, now I'm about to. I really like what Adam Peters has done with this roster, right? And he did it extremely quickly, right? It's obviously just been one offseason. He hasn't even had a draft yet, right? And we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new starters out of 22 in his first free agency that I think almost everyone is an upgrade except for probably Jeremy Chin and Cameron Curl. Other than that, everything has been an upgrade already. And he's been doing it on cheap deals, right? It's been cheap here for Washington. It's not even... Like, literally, we still have $50 million in cap space, the second most in the NFL, and we signed 17 players and 9 new starters. Oh, I didn't even include the kicker. That's 10 new starters, and potentially we signed a long snapper. He might be the new long snapper. 11 new starters on this team, and we haven't even hit the draft. That is incredible. But focusing just on free agents, we signed Marcus Mariota, which is obviously clearly just going to be a veteran quarterback and veteran presence for whoever we draft at number 2. If you don't think we're drafting a quarterback at number 2, I don't know what rock you're living under, but that's going to be a discussion for another day. We're drafting that. So he's going to be our backup veteran presence, right? And we also traded away Sam Howell. We got way more than I expected. I'm not even gonna lie. I know Jarris was giving me crap in our texts of when I was saying there ain't no value for him. Somehow we were able to move up in the 3rd and move up in the 5th. Like, we didn't gain any picks, but we gained quite a bit of. We moved up quite a bit to the point where I think it was like the value of a 3rd rounder. I was looking at the trade chart. I should have brought that up, but. Insane the value we got for Sam Howell. Incredible. So great move by him. So there's that. There's the quarterback. Then we signed 2 veteran aging offensive players, right? And these are clearly guys that Cliff Kingsbury and Anthony Lynn were interested in. Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz. Austin Eckler, I think's deal is phenomenal. You guys know I'm not a big running back guy. Don't really care about him, which is why a 2-year, $11 million, I think it's worth up to $11 million too. It's not even $11 million guaranteed. 2-year deal for a guy that was before last season averaging I think he had, I looked it up for the buddy. I think he had 18 touchdowns one year and then 20 touchdowns the next. Just 3 years removed from back to back, or 2 years removed from that, right? Last year, obviously, he had some injuries, didn't quite get right. Had one of his worst seasons, but he's 29 years old, and a running back, he is aging, so I don't expect him to be top running back in the league again. But a guy like that Cliff Kingsbury, who revived James Conner. You remember, James Conner was a dude that was dead in the water in Pittsburgh. Like, they let him go and said, nah, screw that. We don't want James Conner anymore. Then they went and added Austin Eckler. Dual threat, could be a pass-catching back, led the league in pass catches, I think, or something like that, a couple years as well. I mean, the guy has been all over the place, hitting him through the run and the pass game. So I really like that. Zach Ertz is obviously an aging vet who's also dealt with a lot of injuries lately. He's a dude that's super talented. In his day, when he was in prime, he was a guy that was top echelon in tight ends. Obviously, he had a relationship with him over there in Arizona, he being Cliff Kingsbury. Our tight end room was the worst in the league last year, in my opinion. I was saying that going into the year, and they did nothing to show me any different, right? We let Logan Thomas go. Zach Ertz is a guy that I'm very happy to bring in on another cheap deal. We didn't overpay for him. that was the theme of the entire offseason, is not overpaying for anybody. But a guy that already knows the system, already knows Cliff Kingsbury, can be a safety blanket for the new quarterback as well as Austin Eckler. I think those are two really good signings for the now, right? Because they want not only to build for the future, which is why they're not overspending, but also want to compete, right? Adam Peters talked about that in his press conference. Like, you're going to be impressed with who's on the field next year, right? It was a recalibrate, not a retool or not a rebuild, a recalibrate for Dan Quinn. Those are a couple of signings that I see. And then you could immediately go over to the defensive side and do the same thing with Dante Fowler, Bobby Wagner, quarterback of your defense. He's 34, but still led the league in tackles last year. All right, a couple of dudes there. Also, the defensive side that can bring in a vet presence on the defensive side of the football. But back to the offense, then we went and signed a couple of offensive linemen. No tackles, which is disappointing. We did let go. Actually, let me double check that. I just want to confirm. We did let go of, yes, we let go of not Cornelius Lucas. We signed him, Charles Leno. Charles Leno is now off the books. He was terrible. I'm completely fine with that. So we did sign a swing tackle in Lucas. I don't think he's going to be starting by any means. So he's going to be a guy that's a backup. So it looks like we're going to be hitting either a trade market for a tackle, or one of the second round picks is going to be a tackle. That's just how it is, right? Because we're going to draft quarterback number 2, second round pick. We have 2 second round picks, I believe both in the 30s. Those are going to be, one of those will be a tackle, if not both. That'd be crazy, but at least one. But we signed Tyler Biadasz at center, who's a solid center out of Dallas, right? 3-year, $30 million, so $10 million a year. Not crazy amount of money for a center, but we definitely did pay him. And then also Nick Allegretti from the Chiefs, a dude that can play all the interior offensive line spots. We still have Sam Cosmi, who I think is going to be a starter. I'm still interested to see what Ricky Stromberg can do for us. He's a guy that I liked when I watched the little bit of tape that we watched there. I thought he was an interesting prospect we got in the third. So Nick Allegretti, maybe a starter. He's listed as a starter right now, and I included him in the 10 starters that we replaced, or 11 or whatever. But we'll see where he actually ends up, if he starts or not. But solid pickup nonetheless. I don't think he doesn't really move the needle much one way or the other, but nonetheless, we needed the offensive lineman. And of course, we also signed Cornelius Lucas back. We had him before as a swing tackle. Continuing, nope, that's all the offensive players. So now moving over to the defensive side. We already talked about Dante Fowler and Bobby Wagner. Fowler was Dan Quinn's first pick in Atlanta, 2015, number 3 overall. So another guy he's brought over. He was also in Dallas. So obviously Dante Fowler really likes him some Dan Quinn defense. Then Bobby Wagner obviously leads to the boom, had that history there as well. He's coming over to implement the defense that Joe Witt and Dan Quinn want to implement. Then they went and got Dorrance Armstrong. Not a crazy deal, but I really like it. I remember many times watching Dallas games, and Armstrong flashed in the run game, blowing up a run, getting after the quarterback. There was time. Dorrance Armstrong is a guy that will get after it. I love that signing. Also coming from Dan Quinn's system, immediately going to be implemented, listed as a starter right now at defensive end. They got a dude in Clelin Ferrell, who was the number 4 overall pick, who had no business being the number 4 overall pick. If you guys remember that draft, that was a wild pick in everybody's mind, and it completely flopped for the Raiders. He did have a solid year last year for the Niners. Cheap deal again. First round talent. I don't think it was a top 5 talent, but first round talent. Throw a flyer on him. We needed defensive ends badly. We signed 3 of them, Armstrong, Fowler, and Ferrell. So, like that. Frankie Louvu is the most interesting free agent, especially on the defensive side of the football, of where he could be long-term. Is he a guy that can actually be used? Is he a guy that we're going to try to build a defense around a little bit? Not around, but a piece that we're going to have for a few years. He's a guy that can be used all over the linebacking room. He could be lined up on the ball, lined up on the tackle. He could be lined up off ball. He used everywhere over there in Carolina. He led the team in tackles. He's I think he had like 280 something tackles over the last 2 years. So he's a guy that gets after it. He also had 12 and a half sacks, so he can rush the passer. He's played special teams for him, so he's versatile in that way. He could be a position flex, as Ron Rivera loved to say. So Frankie Luvu is a guy I loved what I think it was it Al Galdi or somebody else, maybe or maybe it was Finley. No, not Finley. John Keim. One of them said Dan Quinn has done more from the linebacker spot in 3 days or 2 days than Ron Rivera ever did here as a former linebacker, as well as Jack Del Rio. It's insane what our linebacking crew with Anthony Pittman, also a more depth guy, but still already leagues above what we've had for now 3 years or 4 years, whatever Ron Rivera was here. So love that. Then we signed Michael Davis and Noah I can never say it. Noah, whatever. The dude with a crazy last name, Igbenogin, and James Pierre. Nobody really super moves the needle in the cornerback room. We needed a lot of corners, so some depth guys. It's very possible that the other second round pick is a corner. I know a lot of people are interested in one of these wide receivers. I think it's an extremely deep wide receiver class. You could probably get a solid one in the third with one of our third round picks. So I could totally see quarterback, tackle, corner being the first three off the board. Unless he really likes Emmanuel Forbes, you know how I feel about him. Benjamin St-Juste, could be a solid 2 or, CB2, CB3. Interesting to see what they do in the draft with the cornerback position, because I think we do still need a true number one corner. But maybe we don't. Maybe it's this zone scheme that he's going to be bringing in. You have to play man at some points, but it's not like Trayvon Diggs is a lockdown man-up corner. It's not like Deron Bland's a man-up lockdown corner. He got a ton of turnovers, so maybe we don't need a super expensive corner, especially if we're going to try to get after the passer with all these DNs we sign. And maybe Jamin Davis will be moved to DN. He's a super freak athlete. Maybe can be used in a Micah Parsons role. Who knows? We'll see in that direction. I really like the Jeremy Chin signing. He's a replacement for Cameron Curl. And according to, I think it was Cameron Curl's dad, that he said that Washington offered more money. Cameron Curl just wanted out, which is super unfortunate for us. But he wanted to go over to LA, work with the Rams. Good for him. No ill will towards Cameron Curl. But Jeremy Chin, I think, is a guy that we only paid, I believe, $5 million this year. 1-year deal, prove it kind of thing. Fantastic replacement. I don't think he's as good as Cameron Curl, but to immediately miss out on a Cameron Curl and immediately go get a guy like Jeremy Chin, Peters is doing it, man. Brandon McManus, super strong leg at kicker. I think he is an upgrade over Joey Sly. He's not one of the best kickers in the league by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a low field goal percentage rather, because they do send him out for deep 50-yard field goals quite often. If I pulled up the stats for him real quick, Brandon McManus stats. Yeah, he had 10 50-yard field goals last year. The year before that, he had 13. The year before that, he had 9. And in Denver in 2020, he had 15 50-yard field goals. He had a long of 61. Last year was a long of only 56, 55 the year before that, 58 in 2020. So the guy has a super strong leg, right? He's done very well on extra points, 35 for 35 last year, 25 for 27, 33 for 34. So he's missed 3 over the last 3 seasons. Not too good in 2020, though. He missed 3 just in that season alone. Overall, he's an 81.4% field goal percentage. Inside the 50, he only missed 2 40-yarders, made everything else, went 10 for 10 from 40. So Brandon McManus is a guy that is a clear upgrade over Joey Sly. Is he a guy that's going to be the kicker for the next 10 years? To be determined. But he has that potential. He's a really solid kicker, right? And he is, 32 years old? Adam Vinatieri, kicked until like 40 million years old? So he's a guy that at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, if he has that potential to be a long-term answer at the kicking position. So solid signing there. And last but not least is the replacement for the guy we traded up for. No more Cheeseman. We got Tyler Ott. Know nothing about him, but hey, we know that the long snapper position was a problem. We went and got that in free agency. As I said, overall, I think this is a really solid class for what we need right now. Does this make us a contender year one? No. But does it make us a formidable opponent next year? Yeah. Especially with a good draft. If we get a hit on the quarterback position, we have, what, I believe it's 5 picks in the first 3 rounds and 6 in the first 100 picks or something like that. Like, that's incredible for our team that we could build for the future. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 in the top 100 picks. Incredible. You can really set a baseline for the next 3, 4, 5 years with the draft like this, especially who you're going to take at quarterback. But let me know what you guys think about this free agency in the comments below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. And until next time,